Kordell Stewart joins us now from his home in Atlanta, Georgia. Kordell, thank you so much for joining us. I know what it took. I think I know, actually, what it took. I'll never know, and none of us will know what you experienced. You detail it so clearly. Why are you deciding now? Why did you decide now to tell this story after all these years?
Why not?
Yeah.
When you look at society and where we are right now as a country, whether it's through politics, racism, whether it be systemic racism, bigotry, however you choose to preface it, this is a time where, as opposed to 1998, if this essay was put on the Players Tribune or in any newspaper, I think it'd turn to blind eyes and deaf ears.
Yeah.
But today is a time where it's imperative that, like we're doing right now in this country in 2021, we're talking.
Yeah.
We're giving people opportunities to be heard, but yet stories are being told.
I want to take people through what you experienced and how you described it in that article. You say it all started with that phone call. You were at home with your then girlfriend, and the call was very detailed, which is also remarkable. It's a rumor, but it's great detail. Your friend said that he was at the barbershop and he'd heard about this lewd act that was performed on you at the park and that you'd got locked up. He said the rumor was spreading now that you were gay, and he told you. You started laughing because it was absurd to you?
It's barbershop talk is where it came from. He was in the barbershop getting his hair cut. And Dr. Sessoms is a home visit doctor. And he's a friend of the family. You know, when my father came in town, my stepmom came in town, my brother, whomever it may have been, we would all go over and hang out. I met him through a friend on the football team that went to Tennessee State. He's a Tennessee State grad. And so that's a place where we can kind of let our hair down, so to speak, and eat some good collard greens and some mac and cheese and all that good stuff, that good soul food that we are so often missed with being up there in Pittsburgh. But when telling me the story about what took place, because my dad I was raised in a barbershop. So I know the talk that goes on in the barbershop, just as you know the talk that goes on in the salon. Sometimes it's just conversations that you're having. And when he told me that he was prepared to take his cane and hit somebody upside the head because they was running their mouth and just saying reckless things and saying, your boy went to jail and I heard he got caught in the park, you know, having lewd acts performed on him by a gay person. And I'm like, one, when did I ever go to jail, let alone believing in this rumor that's not true? I'm a straight man, always have been a straight man.
Right. So you said, listen, okay, this is crazy. Okay, I know barbershop trash talk. Let's move on. But as you point out in the article, you then went to work and you drove up to work and the publicist for the Pittsburgh Steelers greeted you. Now, when my publicist calls me, she knows I always say, what's wrong? It didn't occur. You see the publicist and you think, oh, hi, hey. And the publicist tells you that Dan Rooney, the owner of the team, as you refer to as Mr. Rooney, wants to talk to you. You get to his office, and this barbershop rumor has now been placed in the man who owns the team's inbox, and he's aware of it.
And he says, you know, when I pull up, the PR lady, she's like, Kordell, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. She said, are you sure? I said, I'm good. She said, okay. I said, because I'm thinking about getting prepared to have this meeting to get past this loss that we just had. I wasn't thinking about what was talked about on the phone the night prior. I go in Mr. Rooney's office and I say, hey, big fella, how are you? He said, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm doing fine. He said, have a seat. He said, you know, I care about you. I'm just wanting to make sure you're okay. I said, I'm fine. How you doing? And then I paused for maybe 2 or 3 seconds and I asked him, I said, Mr. Rooney, I said, is this about some rumor? He said, I'm not worried about that. You know, I'm not concerned about that. And so I'm like, okay, taking it for what it's worth. And then as time progressed, I'm like, how do we find out what happens? Now, Mr. Rooney, he has arguably the largest law firm in Western Pennsylvania. So what he ended up doing, and I asked him, I said, could you find out what happened and where this came from?
You talked to the owner of the team who was very supportive, and then you went to the coach to speak with him. At the time, Bill Cowher was heading the Pittsburgh Steelers. What were you met with there?
Oh, I walked into his office and literally looked like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because his nose was so red and his eyes were so watery. And I'm like, Coach, what the heck is going on? I said more than that, but I'm like, what the heck is going on, man? I'm like, what is this stuff? And he's like, I don't know, kid. I just want to know how you're doing. And I'm like, where do we go from here? How do we handle this? Because let me be transparent. That's a blue collar city. And my style of play in that city wasn't favorable to many. Some may have wanted me to just play the slash role, which consisted of me playing quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and putting the ball a couple times. So when having to deal with that, I got it, but I couldn't understand this. And now I had to stand in front of my teammates and address this because it was something we thought would be good. And it was one of the most awkward situations.
What made it awkward? I mean, let me pause here. Other than the obvious that you're having to address something that is not true and that listen, it's 2021. We know the climate in 1998, NFL, no one had ever come out. And so you have all of these rumors and that wasn't your story. So you are clearing the air with the team. And you wrote that you used some language and you articulated yourself in a way that you wouldn't today, knowing what you know now.
Well, it's a time where the way policies are being passed, the way the laws are now, and people wanting to just be accepted for who they are. Back then, I may have responded in a different way, rightfully so, because you're taking a lifestyle in a community and you're thrusting it off onto a straight man that at 26 years old in that community, trying to handle everything that's coming at me, how do you expect to respond to something of that magnitude?
So did you go in and you said, listen, guys, wait a minute now, I'm not this, I'm not that. You went in hot with a lot of bravado. I think you even said you did your best, Bernie Mac routine to try to use humor and extreme bravado to diffuse it.
Yeah, Tamron, and truth be told, it became not about even that rumor, to be honest. It became more of a why. Like, what's the purpose of you trying to start something when I've done nothing but the right things in that community?
You talked to the player in the op-ed about how the rumor was investigated by the Steelers and that they came back with an allegation that it was started by who?
A police officer. And I was like, huh? I'm like, did we get his name? Mr. Rooney, bless his soul, he was like a father figure to me. I loved him to death. He was always transparent and one of those people that walked around the organization that you never saw him, but when you did, you had no choice but to talk to him. And he was like, they knew who he was, but they didn't want to tell it. And I'm like...
Did you ever learn the individual's name?
No.
So to this day, you don't know?
Yeah. No, I don't care. I don't care to know, to be honest.
Why do you think that person would do that? And how could one individual's word spread so fast and be deemed credible?
I have no clue. When it comes to being redeemed credible, let me give you a couple of situations, okay? One, you respond to it. And as in a salon or in a barbershop, you'll have the ladies that say, girl, what you expect him to say, right? Then you have the guys be like, oh, man, that dude need to cut it out. Then it's the silence, right? The silence then triggers people to say, well, if he's not saying anything, it must be true, right? And then you have the friends that may come up to you and say, hey, man, it's all good. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, whoa. No, this is not a true statement. But then it's my side, which is more the transparent side, which is I have the bag sitting over here. I have my career that's in place. So for me to dive into that mess and get this all over me, let that be their problem and their conversation. Let me take care of my business and the things that are most important, which is keeping my job.
Which is what you did. And you ended up finishing your NFL career strong on your terms by all accounts. And then you make the decision to join, not as an official cast member, but become a part of the reality franchise, The Housewives of Atlanta, with your then wife, Porsha Williams. Did it occur to you that, all right, I'm stepping into this reality show world where gossip and rumors are part of the script, and now I know this is out there? Were you hesitant?
That show is all about storylines, right? And you draw from whoever the castmates or the characters, if you will, that are on the show, what they've been a part of. So there was a chance that that may have seeped in.
And
Being
it
that,
did, because when
and it did,
Porsha broke
yeah,
up and divorced, it became a part of the storyline and people were talking about it again. Did it have an impact on your marriage?
no. We were married. That never was the impact at all. That was true love at the time. But once you get on the show and things are starting to be insinuated, from the conversation about a beard to me being controlling, and it becomes a whirlwind of things. And, then she has her world that she's a part of and things that she wanted to do for herself, to the point where, going our separate ways at that time, without diving too far into my.
Yeah. And that's not why you're here on the show, to be quite honest with you, to relive what happened
Yeah,
there. I'm just curious of the mindset of knowing that you've ended your football career and now you were thrusting yourself back into a world,
yeah,
a show that rumor would be ripe for. Do you
yeah.
regret doing the show knowing that?
No, because in marriages, there's two words: there's compromise and sacrifice, right? And sometimes when giving of yourself to your mate, you end up making decisions sometimes that can either make or break you.
All right.
And to be honest with you, if I had to do it again, I probably would not do it. But I'm not ashamed of doing it,
Right.
because I really was doing it for her, because it was her opportunity to be on the stage in which she's on right now, and I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's really not about that.